I've got a, what would you say, a bonus one, haven't I?
Right, do it now. So you're going to read me the first page.
I want to read you one, yeah.
Go on.
I haven't read this book.
All right.
But I also, I had a look at it, really just to see what it would be like from the first couple of lines. So it's sort of an example of what we're doing now. All right. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Mindless sex. There's a lot to be said for it. That's the first line. Okay. Can I just sort of preempt you and think that you're going to be well into this? You're going to be. This is right up your street.
Well, I will point people at rather than repeat the contents of.
Yeah.
Our video on the Bad Sex Awards.
Oh yeah. That's a great video. That is.
It is a good video.
Do you want that again, or do you want a little bit more?
No.
Have you made your mind
up?
Right.
I'm going to tell you what I think of that first line.
Yeah.
I would be like, who's the author of this?
Yeah.
Because if it was somebody like Ben Elton, then I'd be like, this might be funny.
Yeah.
And if it was somebody like Henry Miller, I would be like, I'm simply not going to like this. I don't want to read this.
But what about just based on literally what I've read to you, mindless sex?
Well, I don't know the intent of it.
Okay.
I assume the intent is to be humorous, and therefore it doesn't put me off.
I've got to read some more. Is that all right?
If that was the first line of E.L. James,
yeah,
I've got enough E.L. James. I've read 50 Shades. I'm not reading anymore. All right. So if that then I'd be looking at the paratext. Who's this by?
Yeah.
And that would make or break whether I even bother to read anymore. But there's nothing in there that puts me off.
Right.
Because I don't have that context at the moment. So
all right.
Carry on.
As the pattern of the video before, let's carry on. All right. So there's a lot to be said for it. No commitments, no expectations, and no disappointments. I just have to remember their names.
In terms of whether it's hooking me in or pushing me away, it's starting to
push you away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay,
but
so
carry on.
Who was it last time? Jojo, Jean, I presume that is, Jodie, whatever. She was some nameless who moaned a great deal both in and out of bed.
Is this by the same person that did Mambo No. 5?
What was he called again?
I don't know.
A little bit of dirt. Yeah.
It's a list of girls' names. The expletive, again, I'm not a fan of. If I knew that this writer was trying to be humorous, then I'd be like, maybe I'll carry on, because I could see that, like, the
that's interesting.
The discussion of like she moans in and out of bed, clearly intended to be humorous. There's nothing here that's putting me off. I dare say there'd be quite a lot of people that would be put off by casual sexism, which I would assume that probably would be described by them as that. But personally, it doesn't bother me in the slightest.
So would you carry on reading then?
The expletive, again, is another notch against you.
Yeah.
But I read some more.
You're still in the first paragraph. This is the last or penultimate sentence to that paragraph. So, I lie staring at the rippling reflections from the Thames on my ceiling, unable to sleep, too restless to sleep.
Yeah, you see, that makes me think that this is going to be one of those books that's all about whining and self-pitying and now woe is me, look at all these people I have to sleep with. So I'm kind of, like, every further part away from that first line is sort of going, I don't really think this is something I want to read. So at this point, I would probably, again, in a bookshop, I go, that's not for me, and put it back.
At that point,
if I was reading it, I would be like, oh God, what have I let myself in for? This is going to be awful.
It's be like a book recommendation.
Yeah.
I'll just read you the next couple because they're quite short. So, tonight it's Caroline. She doesn't fit the nameless fuck category. She'll never fit. What the hell was I thinking? Closing my eyes, I try to silence the still, small voice that is questioning the wisdom of bedding my best friend. Again. And there was an ellipsis before the again. You see,
So there's an ellipsis before the again. So it's bedding my best friend
again.
Right.
Support. Yeah.
At this point, I'm really, really leaning towards I don't want to read anymore of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, if I was like something, read this is good, or even if they read this is bad, I probably would carry on unless it's E.L. James. I read enough. So who's it by?
Well, let me just say so. I would have thought that the second after I read Mindless Sex, there's a lot to be said for it, you would say to me, that is rubbish. I'm not reading anymore. So you've surprised me. You've
I've got a lot of staying power when it comes to a book that I'm committing to. Like I say, if that's intended to be, this is going to be a comedy about romance, then I'd be like, okay, that is just what you might expect. But then when it starts swearing, it's like, well, this probably isn't a comedy about romance. And then you're like, well, this better be really funny for me to have to put up with that.
Yeah.
And it isn't so far. It's like, mildly wry, but there's not much else there for me.
And there's not much to go on with the writing, is there? There's,
there's
it's just telling you what's happening, I suppose.
But that's very typical of a first-person narrative, especially a modern one. I don't know if this is a modern book. They give so little, and they just talk about themselves and whine a lot usually these days. And it's kind of like, I don't want to read that.
Yeah.
So...
The big reveal.
Yeah, and the big reveal.
Have you got a guess or not?
Who's it by?
Yeah.
I don't have any idea.
Really? You've said the name.
Oh, tell me it's not E.L. James.
It's The Mister by E.L. James.
What?
The Mister. Yeah.
The Mister?
The Mister.
What's that? I've never even heard of that.
By E.L. James.
How far did you read then?
Oh, 200 No. I can't remember, to be honest. It wouldn't have been much more than that, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and that ellipsis
so there we go.
is so tacky.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it?
I mean...
Again.
Yeah, I mean, just...
I've done it again.
I would be so wary of using an ellipsis at all.
Yeah.
Because it's such a cliche. But if you're going to use it, then I suppose... Oh, you'll know. Is it Howard Pinter? Who does the dialogue plays, and they're full of ellipses all the way through, showing where his pauses and things like that are. I would use it for that sort of thing, but I wouldn't use it in my narrative.
Yeah,
in dialogue perhaps, but and definitely not if I was like writing a horror book. Like I turn the corner and there was no. It's just such a cliche.
... a hairy monster.